Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today I'm so excited to show you what's in this envelope. This is an Advent scratch-off calendar that you can send to your grandkids or your children or your friends or whoever you want to send it to. And I have given you a lot of things to make this super cool. So let me show you what it looks like. So in this envelope, this is a 5x7, by the way. I could not do this smaller, even if I wanted to, because it takes a lot to get all this on here. But you see the scratch off? That's what those are. It's so cool. Comes with an easel and the card. This is the front. Here is where you can write your message on the back. Super cute, right? Let me show you the star of the show. It's by Silhouette. It's this scratch off paper, scratch off stickers. And we have this, we usually carry it in 3 colors, and we have this in our store. I'll put links to products for you. But this guy is the star of the show. It's super cool. And I want to show you how this works, okay? So there's a little bit of an intro. If you don't like the intro, just skip ahead. No stress. This is an easel. I've shown you how to make easels in videos before, so I'm going to link that video for you guys so you can go and see how to make the easel, but check that out. The reason I did the separate easel is because I wanted whoever had it to be able to take it down, like they can leave the easel sitting, take it down, scratch, and then put it back up on the easel. So let's scratch one. I think this is super cool. So I'm going to scratch day 1. I'm going to scratch it off here like this, and then I'm going to blow that away so it's out of the way. Aren't kids going to love this? And I'm not going to scratch it all off because I want you to see it. I want you to see how it does. Can you see how there's a little bit left in that corner right there? And it says read Jeremiah 33:14-15. This particular one is a scripture reading Advent. I've given you 3 different ones. There's PDFs linked for you guys. See why there had to be a long intro? Okay, this particular one has a random acts of kindness and Christmas traditions, basically, is what's on this one. And I gave it to you in circle and in square. It's a PDF. You can print these out any way you want to, cut them out and make cards. Then I give it to you with a scripture reading. This is scripture reading in the circle, scripture reading in the square, and then I also give it to you in plain. So if you want to do your own thing, you can just put text boxes over these and put your own stuff in there, okay? So you can print those out. They're all PDF. I printed them on some cardstock. So here's this guy. I'm going to move it out of the way and show you. I printed mine on some cardstock. I cut down some 12 by 12 to an 8.5 by 11 and ran it through my printer. And I printed the circle one, which you saw. That was the one that was up here. I cut it away and made it, okay? And then this guy is the square, which we're going to do today. Now, it is a 5 by 7. You can see it's got 2 mats, okay? The biggest mat, the red mat, is 5 by 7, and then they drop down underneath there. I'll put my measurements below. Okay, let's make this guy. So I printed this one plain. Normally, or ever how you want to do it, by the time you print it, it'll have your words in it, okay? So mine would either have my reading or my random acts, or if I wanted to do my own thing. Let's say I just wanted to print this out and like I wanted to write my own stuff inside here. So maybe day 1 it is bake cookies, because we're getting ready, right? And maybe day 2 it is send cards. Whatever you want to do. You don't have to print. You can just write, okay? So I took just a second, and on the blank one I wrote several little things out, which really are just notes for you guys to see that I've written them. But you can write very specific things in those squares, and you can even put your Christmas traditions in, like where they are, what you do every year. Like our Christmas Eve is full of traditions. But then this box is Christmas Day. This is day 25. And what I thought would be really cute is if I was sending this to someone, maybe to a grandchild or to a niece or a nephew or just a friend of the family, this would be a really cute place to write Merry Christmas. And then maybe I love you or a little note, and then sign it. Wouldn't that be a cute thing to do? So when they scratch this day off, they get a little note. This was my only spot for decorating, and you can see what I did on this one because you didn't have a whole lot of space, but I just used some stamps to decorate. Okay, for the scratch off portion, if you're gonna do the circle one, this circle is 3/4 of an inch round. I happen to have a 3/4 inch circle punch. It works perfectly. But you could cut it on your Cricut, your electronic cutting machine. You might even have a die that is this size, and you can cut it that way. Let me show you. I just took my little circle punch, and I will give you a tip. The faster you punch, the better. because if you go slow, it kind of bends the edges and you don't want to do that. So put your punch in there, set where it's going to go, and then squeeze and get that done. And then this just peels away so easy, and you just place this over the circle on your page, okay? So I'll place one here since I scratched that one off. I'll place that one on top of there. The scratch off is on a clear plastic. So when you scratch it, you're scratching the silver away, but you're leaving the plastic behind, and that protects the words underneath. We'll come back and stamp that one and fix it back up in a second. The reason I did squares is because if you don't have a circle punch, you can still do this project, okay? All you need is your trimmer. Let's move this guy out of the way. And your scratch paper. Now you're going to need 3/4 of an inch squares. The one at the bottom is bigger, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and slice 3/4 of an inch, okay? So this is a 3/4 of an inch strip. To save you some time in a little bit, we're going to go ahead and cut the bigger one that we need. We need to be 3/4 of an inch wide by 2 7/8. See, this is the stuff I learned from doing this ahead of time. So now we've already got the one that's going to fit inside our big square here at the bottom, and we can move on to our 1-inch squares. Now all we have to do is cut this down, or not 1 inch, but 3/4 inch. So now we just cut this down into 3/4 inch squares, and this is going to fit right inside of those little squares. Perfect. So I'm going to cut all those little squares real quick, and we'll get right back together. Now, if you have a square punch, that will punch 3/4, or if you want to use your electronic cutting machine, you can totally do it that way, whichever way that works best for you. Now, I've cut 24, that's what's laying here, but while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and cut these extras. I discovered in my stamping I made some mistakes, and I'd rather cut a few extras now than have to come back later and do this. So while I've got this little strip, I'm just going to cut whatever it'll cut, and we'll use those for extras, just for encasers. There we go. All right, now to the fun part. Now I've got all of my little squares right here, and all we're going to do is stick them on. Now I decided to stick these on before I stamped. I felt like I was pretty confident in my stamping in that way. If you're not confident in your stamping, go ahead and stamp them before you put them on. But I did really well. On my first one, I only messed up one, so I felt pretty good about that. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these down. Plus, it'll be easier for you to kind of keep up with what I'm doing as I go. Then you just put these little guys into the squares. And I'll tell you another tip. And I may have told you earlier, but the easiest way to peel this off is to peel the silver from the backer and not the backer from the scratch off. I discovered that it's easier to pull it away that way. So what I mean by that is, like, if the scratch off is facing me, pull toward me and I grab it much easier than trying to pull that thick backer off. As I'm sticking these down, I'm thinking of all the things I could use this thing for. Wouldn't it be cute if you had like a message reveal? So like every day as the person scratched off, they get another part of the message. Like you could write maybe a word or letters even, and do one long continuous every day they learn something new toward the message. I think that'd be a cute idea. So anyway, lots of different ways you can use it. Maybe you even want to use it for something like a countdown for something that's not for Christmas. It doesn't have to be an Advent for Christmas. Maybe you want to do a countdown to family vacation. How cute would that be? I know whenever we go on vacation, we usually do a countdown on our phone so we can keep up. But this would be super cute to do that with. And you could maybe even have something special to do in those days. And when it's time to pack, you could put pack up for the trip or what have you. It'd be super cute. The templates that I gave you, they're PDFs. So if you want to add anything to them, you basically have to add on top of them. That just means you're going to want to add your wording with text boxes. And I know that both softwares, Microsoft Word and Pages from Apple, they both use text boxes, and I know you'll be able to make that happen. So if you're unsure how to do it, just use a text box and line it up over the template, and that's how you'll be able to do that. Okay, so these are my extras right here. Here's my big one for the little bottom down there. And again, I think it's so cute to put the little message here. And what I discovered with this one, let me show you. This is kind of thin when you go to stick it down. Set one corner in place, one edge like I'm doing here. And then you can kind of steer it based on the little box as you go. I got a little stuck down, but that's okay, because I can just rub that down into place and it goes nice and smooth. So now all of my little boxes are all covered up with the little scratchy stuff, and now we can stamp. So I'm using my Pink and Main clickable letters. I love these, and I thought they were the perfect size. They're good and chunky. But any number stamps you have in your stash will work. And listen, you can always just use a Sharpie marker. You do need it to be something permanent that you stamp with, because if it's not, it will wipe off. This is a non-porous surface, these little scratchies, so you got to use an ink for that. So here's what I'm doing. I'm using my StazOn. You know it's my favorite, and that's what I'm going to use there. And I'm going to use my scrubber, my squeaky clean scrubber, because I don't want these to stain too terribly bad. So what I've done is I've laid my Pink and Main stamps, or clickable stamps, out by number, so 0 through 9. Okay, that'll make it go faster. I'm going to go ahead and open up my StazOn, which, by the way, I get to smell, and it's my favorite ink to smell. It smells like almonds or cherries. It just smells delicious. Then I'm going to ink up my number 1. Now, this is a slick surface, so don't wiggle. You want to put this guy down, and you just want to stay there and make sure I'm doing tiny little movements to make sure that the entire piece gets stamped. Then I'm going to scrub that off and lay 1 down. Now pick up 2. This is how I found makes it go super fast. So go to 2. You're going to smear it a little bit, by the way. You're not going to get these perfect. It's a non-porous surface, and that's just what happens. I'm just going to run through and just stamp these guys. And I say run through. Don't run. Take your time on this, because this is the longest part of the whole project. The rest is super easy. So take your time on stamping your little numbers down. And again, you can totally just write this with a Sharpie marker and you get, the same effect. It's just a good way to let the recipient know in what order to scratch them off. Now, when I get to my 2-digit numbers, I'm going to take my letters and click them together, and I can start with the number 10 right here. There's 10. 11, I only have 1, so I have to stamp the 1 twice. So I just stamped one of the ones on one side. I smeared it. I felt it move. And then another one on the other side. Not the worst. I've seen worse. I've done worse. That one's okay. And then I can go to 12 by putting the 1 and the 2 together, and so on all the way the rest of the way. If you wanted a more masculine look to your numbers, you could get the Brutus Monroe clickable numbers and use his, and they have a little more masculine feel as they're his handwriting. Now on my last one, I stamped the number 25, but I stamped it to one side, like so, 25. And then I used another stamp from my stash for a little wording there. This stamp says, Baubles and Bling, Lights on a String. I just thought it was cute, and it fit perfectly on that little spot. So again, using my StazOn ink, I'm going to press this down here. Try not to wiggle. It's hard not to. You want to be really careful with it. Then let's lift that up. Good deal. Baubles and Bling, Lights on a String. That's super cute. Now on my sample, you will have seen that this corner is what I decorated. So in this bottom corner, I just cut 2 little rectangles. The first one is the same size as this one, and the second one I just did a little mat around it. I just stamped Countdown to Christmas from our Deck the Hall stamp set. Super cute, so easy to do. Even these little images are from the Deck the Hall stamp set, but you could decorate this any way you want. And then we're going to glue these to some backers. So I'm bringing this in the picture here so you can see I have a red mat, a blue mat, and then my piece like this one that I printed on. I want to show you what it looks like with only one mat behind it. So this is a 5x7 piece of cardstock, and then this is the little piece I printed and cut out. And if I put that there, I get an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around versus 2 1/16 of an inch borders. Now you can decide how you want to do it. I think it looks cute both ways. But if you decide you want that second mat inside there, that mat is 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And so you just glue 2 mats instead of just one. I'm just going to glue the one down. So I'm going to take my little Advent scratch off, add some glue to the back, and just glue this down, just so you can see it both ways. I do like it with the 2 mats because I think it's thicker and stronger. And since this is going to be something that somebody uses, all the month of December, you might like the thicker version. So you can see there's that one, and this one's a little thicker. Now, the only other thing I did to this guy before making my easel was, I'm going to flip this over, On the back, you can see I don't have anything here, but here you can see I have a little white piece of paper that's just stuck. It's a piece of cardstock stuck on there that I stamped with a little image, so I'd have myself a place to write on the back. That's the only thing I did different there, so I just wanted to show you how stinking cute. Now let's make an easel. So this is the easel I made. You could do anything you want, but this is the one I did. I did it like this, so this guy just sits up just like that for whoever's doing the scratching. I'm still going to link the video below where I show you 3 different styles of easels because I think you might like one of those. You never know. That may be more your style than this one. This one I do show in that video, so I'm going to just kind of run through what I did here. This is a 5x5 piece of paper or cardstock. Works perfect with that 5x7 card. So what I did was I folded this in half. You could score it if your paper needs to be scored to keep it from kind of buckling. But I folded it in half and then I creased it. Then I put it onto my cutting mat and using a ruler or any straight edge you have, I didn't even get a ruler, this is just a straight edge, I'm going to run a line from one corner to the next. So using my pencil, I'm just going one corner to the next, okay? Then I want to make the little foot. And let me show you what the foot looks like. I'm going to lay it on here because you'll be able to see it exactly. See how that little foot has a little jut back? Here's what I did. I made myself a mark at 1 inch up, and I'm using my cutting mat for that. But if you need to measure, just measure 1 inch up from the bottom. Then I turned this, and what I did was at the bottom, I made myself a mark at 1/2 inch. So I've got 1 inch up, 1/2 inch in, and then I'm just going to take my straight edge and match those. So from one to the next, just like so. Now I'm going to erase my pencil marks in a minute, but this is pretty much how I got my easel. So now it's time to cut it out. So I'm going to start with this little point here. I'm going to cut only to where they intersect, only to where my pencil lines intersect. So from one little edge to that crossover, just like so. And then I'm going to change scissors because I find this easier to do this way. I'm going to use my longer scissors and I'm going to cut down that diagonal line that I made all the way to where my little snip is right there. Okay, so that's all I have to do. Now I have that same shape. Do you see that little shape that I've got? All right, now let's erase these little pencil marks down here at the bottom. No big deal. It's just a few. Just like that. And now this will hold our advent calendar. So there we go. And let's bring the one we made today over. The squares. So that just sits right in there just like that for your advent calendar. Isn't that super cool? And I feel like by sending this in 2 pieces in the card, somebody will definitely know that that is the easel that holds it up. But if you need to, you can put a little note inside explaining, don't lose the easel, or be sure to sit your advent calendar up on the easel, or even write it on the back of your card. So that one is the square images. And this one is the circle images. And this one I just did some decorating on. That's the only difference. I actually used some little snowflake stickers and stuck around. So that's how that works. All right, so I know you want to see what the scratch off looks like after it's done. So let's do that. So here we are up close. And I'm going to take a quarter. Any coin will do. And I'm just going to scratch this away. Won't the recipient love doing this? I can see kids loving every minute of this. So cool. Also, there are recipes online for making your own scratch off stuff. You can look those up. It's like, I forget what that's called, scratchy stuff. I don't remember what it's called, but you can find recipes for making the silver stuff. So just look for that online if you want to make your own scratch off. But do you see this? It just leaves that behind so you can see what that day is. And there we go. See that little plastic? That's what's left behind. So it really just protects your handwriting or whatever you put on there. No big deal. So that one says baked cookies. And if we scratch this one off, it is a scripture reading for the month. So like this first one, we scratch it away. It says to read Jeremiah 33:14 through 15. And it goes all through the month. Okay. So one more look at the PDFs. This one is the Random Acts of Kindness and Traditions printable here. Okay. This one is the scripture reading in both circle and square. And then this one is the blank, so you can do whatever you want to with it, okay? Those are PDFs. I'll link them in the blog post that I'm going to connect to this video in the description below. So just be sure to open the Show More button underneath this video, and you'll be able to get to all of these guys. And Just as a reminder, this circle is 3/4 of an inch. In the square, 3/4 of an inch. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. This one was a lot of fun to figure out how to do. I've not gotten to play with the scratch off as much as I wanted to, and this was a good way to do it. And I think this will be super fun for Christmas and great for cards for us to send to people. Just a fun interactive card for folks. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for joining me for Christmas in July. If you make this, and I hope that you do, I want you to share it with us over on our customer gallery at maymaymadeit.com. I love to see what you guys are making, and that's a perfect place to share it because you don't have to do anything. You don't have to have a special social media or anything. You can just share with us right there. We also have our Facebook group called Maymay Made It, and so did I. And you can also tag me on Instagram and Twitter and even Facebook, and I can see what you guys are making. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.